Well, hello guys, this is Tamuki. Welcome back to Tyranid Army List Building 101. This is going to be the part where I talk about units in each battlefield role, which is HQ, troops, elite, whatnot. And I'm gonna go through each unit, okay? At first I was thinking about just go through the competitive unit, but later on I realized that even the bad unit, they need some explanation in order to convince people why they are bad, and also to explain why the certain aspect of those units are not competitive, and if that aspect get changed by either point drops or rule changes or FAQ chapter approve whatnot, or meta changes, they might become good. So I'm not just gonna say a unit is bad. I'm gonna explain why they're bad and how they can be improved. But most of the time I'm gonna talk about competitive units and how to use them properly in this video. So let's get to the point. Alright, in this video we're gonna talk about troops. Tyranid troops are pretty crowded. Alright, I was going to say they're pretty popular, but yeah, I mean, troops are obviously popular because you have to take them. So let's start with Tyranid warriors. Alright, let's start with Tyranid warriors. Why our Tyranid warriors are not seeing a lot of play on table. I mean, you can see them in casual plays all the time, but not so much in competitive play. They just doesn't seem to exist for some reason. Okay, so let's talk about warriors. Warriors are, in terms of point and the stat they provide, they're actually okay. Okay, they're not super expensive. All right, they're not completely trash in terms of stat. They're fine. They're okay. And the reason why people don't bring it is because the other troop choices are just simply outshining the warriors. If you put the warrior into some other faction or other races, they won't find warrior to be such a bad unit to use. They might find it useful, but if you put it in the Tyranid troop choices, where it is super competitive within each choices, then warrior seems to be out and out. That's the problem with warrior mostly. So if you want to run warriors, how would you run them? Okay, how would you run warriors efficiently, point efficiently? Like I said in the last video, obviously, if you want to run warriors, definitely take some Tyranid prime, maybe just 1 to 2. I think 1 is enough. Maybe just 1 Tyranid prime, and put them all in your Magant detachment, and then just shoot away with your shooty warriors. Okay, the reason why I want to gear warriors towards shooting is because, well, first of all, if you want to have a melee troop choices, why not just take Gene Stealers? Right? Why not just take Hormagaunts? Why not just take all the other amazing things over warriors? Like, well, why don't you just do that? All right, there's so many other good choices out there. There's no point bringing warriors in terms of melee combat. So, which means we have to think the other way, which is the shooting way. If you want to play a shooty warrior, I figured out, well, not exactly figure out, I think people who read the codex can realize that the only other proper way to play warrior instead of melee is shooting. And how do you equip them? What weapon do you equip them? Obviously, you're taking a Tyranid warrior because the ability to carry a Venom Cannon for every 3 model, or I think it's a Bob Strangler, isn't it? Yeah, it's probably Bob Strangler or Stranglethorn Cannon. I can't remember. It's the anti-horde infantry one, okay, not the Venom Cannon. So for every 3 model, you can get to replace one of their ranged weapon into a bio cannon, which is usually Venom Cannon. All right. And what about the rest of the model? What about the troopers? What do you equip them with as in terms of range weapon? You equip them with Death Spitters. Alright, don't take Devourer. Devourer is, sure, it's 1 point cheaper and it's pretty okay, but it's too short. It's too short for Warrior, and Warrior tends to move forward and shoot. So give them Death Spitter. Death Spitter, it's Assault 3 heavy bolter. What's not to love, right? You can move and shoot without suffering penalty, and it's 3 shot per model. So it's great. It's only 5.2, so it's fucking amazing in terms of Death Spitters. Death Spitter on warriors and Venom Cannons on every 3 models, alright? Now the problem here is you can't have 2 pairs of guns. Trust me, if warriors are allowed to have 2 pairs of guns, you will see them in a lot more plays. But unfortunately, they can only use a pair of their arms for ranged weapon and another pair for melee weapon. That's what they can do. Or they can have 2 sets of melee weapon, they can do that. But they cannot have 2 pairs of guns. So unfortunately, the other choice other than guns, we are stuck up between choosing Sizing Talons, Bone Sword, Rending Claw, and Bone Sword and Lash Whip. That's pretty much our choices here. The default choice, I will say, it's probably Sizing Talon. It's because Sizing Talon over here is actually free. The same reason why you take Monster's Rending Claw on a Flyrant. You don't take it because it's better than Sizing Talon, you take it because it's free. And the same thing over here is that if a Tyranid Warrior, if you can only equip 1 set of guns, and the other set you're not going to do anything with it, just give it Sizing Talon because it's free. Right, end of the story. Some people argue that maybe taking Bone Sword is good, which is 2 point. It's not too crazy. I mean, 2 point per model is not all that expensive, but I would recommend to not do that and just save the point for something else. You know, like 2 points per model might not seem a lot, but if you take 9 warriors, that's 18 points right there. You know, like this thing adds up. You know, having a pair of Bone Sword looks pretty amazing. I have my warrior model in Bone Sword plus Death Spitter and Venom Cannon. It looks amazing, but maybe in Kill Team, like right there, it's actually pretty good. But over here in 40k main game, it's just, I wouldn't recommend it. Like seriously, just give it a Sizing Talon because it's free, and you can use it for the inevitable melee combat if you really want to. But most of the time, you're just gonna sit back and shoot. You know, you're gonna not exactly sitting back, but more like moving forward in the midfield, camping objective, and just pew pew away. You can do that. Alright, you're not really gonna go melee combat, but if there's something, maybe like a Eldar biker or some Space Marine scouts that's coming towards you and trying to camp the objective that you're taking, then you can use your Sizing Talon and rip them apart. It's free, you know, it's free. So, now that we go through warriors, okay, basically, don't take them right now, alright? Right now, they're not that good because it's a little bit expensive. If warrior drop down to maybe like, preferably 16 point per model, I mean, that's a really tough call. Like it's not possible to drop down to 16 or 15. It's way too cheap. All right, maybe 18. All right, 18 is probably pretty acceptable. 18 point per model, it's pretty much okay for me. Warrior just need like a slight point drop, and you can see them on the table much more often. Right now, this 20 point per model for toughness 4 and 3 wounds and 4+ armor save. It's kind of like it's a bit expensive. It's really expensive. And Tyranid Prime is also pretty expensive. It's 100 point with naked gear, war gear, which is double Sizing Talon. It's 100 point. If you take any ranged weapon, it becomes 105 or whatnot. So, yeah, Tyranid warriors are okay. Yes, that's right. They're okay. They're not bad. They are just okay, but in the very competitive choice of troop units, it's just not really that appealing. That's all. You know, like warrior just need a slight point drop, and you can play a themed army of warrior, which is perfect. All right. So let's move on to the other the other unit that's being brought up so very often, the Gene Stealers. The Gene Stealers, they are the main course of the Tyranid melee raid fest. Okay, so I don't have the proper word to come up with that, but yeah, raid fest it is. Gene Stealers they're capable of killing anything that's not a tank or a monstrous creature. Anything that's toughness 4 or below, getting charged by 16 or 20 Gene Stealers are pretty much, you basically just remove them from the table because they're not gonna live. All right, I don't care if you're Terminators. I don't care if you're Deathshroud Terminators or like Guardsmen or Guardians. It doesn't fucking matter. Like if my 20 Gene Stealers walk up to you and charge you, you just remove your shit from the table. Simple as that. All right. So yeah, here we go. Let's talk about Gene Stealers. What an opening, right? Gene Stealers. The reason why they're great is because it has 3 attacks per model and 4 if you have more than 10 models in the unit. They can absolutely tear anything apart, but there's some tip of using them and gearing them. All right. Gene Stealers on paper, okay, they have 2 set of Rending Claw. Because in previous edition, having 2 pair of same weapon gives you +1 attack, which is not the case in 8th edition, but they have 2 Rending Claws on the model. Like, remember to replace one of the pair of Rending Claw into Sizing Talons, because taking Sizing Talon is free, and it does not absorb any sort of Rending Claw attack you already have. having 2 sets of Rending Claw does not give you 1 extra attack anyway, so just take a Slicing Talon. Why take a Slicing Talon? The reason is because sometimes you run into, like, once again, Guardsman. Alright, if you run to Guardsman, another set of Gaunt, maybe you're having like a Civil War against an Tyranid player, or maybe Guardian from Eldar, and maybe Tau Fire Warrior, you know, like a unit with shit armor. There's no point using your Rending Claw because it's such a waste of AP. So why not just use Slicing Talon instead, which allows you to reroll the hit rolls of 1. Alright, you can still fail. Even with Brutal around, which gives you +1 to hit, alright, you can still fail some hit. So just use Slicing Talon for the weaker armored unit, and use Rending Claw against everything else. Alright, that's the basic weapon setup. What about Asset Maul? Alright, I talked about Asset Maul before, and what's the optimal number of taking them. Asset Maul is a free upgrade for every 4 Gene Stealers you have in a unit. So you have 4, let's say you have 8 Gene Stealers, you can take 2 for free, 12 Gene Stealers you can take 3, and 16 can take 4, and so on. To 20 you can take 5, alright? So we already know that. It's for every 4 Gene Stealers you get 1 for free. So is Asset Maul better than Rending Claw? Because Rending Claw on paper, it's a -1 AP without trigger, but if you trigger it, it becomes AP -4. While Asset Maul does not have any sort of special ability like that, but it's a -AP straight right off the bat. So if you do have Gene Stealers equipped with Asset Maul, do remember that you're gonna roll their attacks separately, or you just use a different colored dice, because it's an AP straight off the bat. It's not worth taking the risk of betting for -4 with Rending Claw. Just take AP 3 right off the bat. It's fine, you know. Just use Asset Maul whenever you can. So for every 4 Gene Stealers, you can have 1 Asset Maul, which means in the regular size Gene Stealers, which is 16 to 20, you can have 4 Asset Maul or 5 Asset Maul attacks. Just use them, okay? Just use them regardless. Unless, of course, again, unless you're fighting weak armor unit like Guardsman, then just switch to your Slicing Talon, which is fine. You know, Slicing Talon does not have AP, but allows you to reroll hit rolls of 1. So that's great. Alright. So that's pretty much it for Gene Stealers. Now let's talk about I think we talked about how to slingshot them with Swarmlord last episode, but let's talk about the numbers, alright? I'm not talking about like how many models per unit, because I just said that like 100 times already, which is 16 to 20, right? But how many squads do you want to take? Do you want to take 1 squad, or 2 squad, or 3? You know, like, what's the number? People say take Gene Stealers, but they never tell you how many squads to take. And I'm about to tell you the answer. The answer is 1 or 2. Most likely just 1. Alright? Gene Stealers, it's a 12 point per model unit, okay? It's 12 point per model. It's a bit expensive. If you add them up, the price will go pretty high. And you can trade all that point for something more useful, or something more durable, like Termagants or Hormagaunts. Durable in terms of number, not because their toughness and their armor save, obviously they're weak, but in terms of number, they can survive pretty good, okay? But for Gene Stealers, Gene Stealer is your typical glass cannon, or I guess in this case it's glass hammer, but so how many squad do you want to take? If you take 1 squad of Gene Stealers, make it 20. Make it 20 model per unit, but take 1 squad. If you're gonna take 2, make it 16 per squad, but take 2, which you get 32 in total. Alright, so you might ask me, why do I want to do that? What's the reasoning behind it? Okay, here's why. If you take only 1 squad, just fill it out. Just fill it out all the way to 20, because you only have 1 squad anyway. Just use that 1 squad and use the stratagem, or use Swarmlord to slingshot that 1 squad and let them to start attacking enemy and consolidate and power into other units. That's what you want to do. But if you're gonna take 2 squad of Gene Stealers, don't fill it up all the way to 20, because if you do that, you're not gonna have too much point left over for other units, like Hive Guards. Alright? So if you really want to fill out like 2 squad of 20, that's a bit of an extreme list, I think. I think having 2 squad Gene Stealers is already pretty extreme. I used to do that all the time, but later I realized that why not just trade that amount of Gene Stealers for more Hormagaunts? Hormagaunts doesn't do a lot of damage, but it has the ability to bog down enemy units And isn't that what we all aim for? Like, that's what we need. If you actually play Gene Stealer, you can actually tell that Gene Stealer usually waste a lot of their attacks. You know, like 16 Gene Stealers have, let me just do a quick calculation. I think 16 Gene Stealers, 16 times 4, yeah, 64 attacks. 64 attacks hit on 3s. Alright, it's just such an overkill. You know, like if you run Gene Stealers towards like a Guardsman or like maybe Terminator squad, yes, you'll kill them, no problem, but you waste a lot of attacks that doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't go to other unit that you should have attacked. Okay, so with that many attacks, even if you run into a Land Raider, that Land Raider is not gonna die because your attack is strength 4. Alright, it doesn't matter how many AP4 Rending Claw you dish out, it's still gonna be strength 4. You're only still gonna wound on 5+. Right? And it only deals 1 damage. So it's not as efficient. So you do realize that having that many Gene Stealer is actually a liability in your army list. So don't take too much Gene Stealer, just keep it like 1 squad of 20 or 2 squad of 16. 2 squad of 16, it's a bit unrecommended. I don't recommend having 2 squad of 16. But if you want to take more than 1 squad, then 16 per squad is the optimal choice here. And I believe we talked about SMO, and for every 14 steers take 1 SMO, so that's why we take 16, not 17, not 18, so we already know that. So that's Gene Stealers, alright? And obviously, okay, elephant in the room, if you're gonna take Gene Stealers, put them in Kraken detachment, please. Like, there is no other point to take them in any other detachment. Alright, just keep them in Kraken. Simple, right? Let's move on. Alright, Termagants. Finally did something that's less talky. Alright, Termagants are your cannon fodders slash shock troop. Alright, you can do them in whatever flavor you want. Usually they carry flash borers by default weapon choice, or Devour if you want to send them with like a Trigon Prime or a Trigon, and then just do the Termagant bomb thing, which is not that great anymore, but I still recommend it for some reason. Anyways, let's talk about the cannon fodder aspect of it, alright? So just keep it flash bore and just take 10 models per unit, which is only 40 points. It's a 4 point per model stuff, alright? So just take a basic 10 models, 40 point unit, and then put it in the backfield and camp your home objective. Alright, why do we want to do that? It's because if you have a Termagant squad in your base, then you can have like a tiny bubble wrapping stuff for your Neurothrope. Neurothropes can still get attacked if they're closest visible target, and your Hive Guards are going to hide somewhere behind the line of sight, which means your Neurothrope will become the closest visible target. Unless, of course, you can hide your Neurothrope too, then that's fine too. But most of the time you can't, because you have to save the spot for Hive Guards, right? So if you have a Termagant in front of the Neurothrope, it becomes harder to kill that Neurothrope. So that's why Termagant as a cannon fodder, that's one way to do it. Or if you want to play a swarm army, all right. This is kind of exception. I was kind of thinking about saving this idea for the next video, but I'm just gonna say it right here. Termagant is the perfect choice for swarm army. They don't have to do a lot of damage. They just have to be cheap, which is they are the cheapest choice right here. Termagant is 4 point, Hormagant is 5 point, and Gargo is 6 point. So Termagant is the best choice because it's cheapest, right? If you want to play swarm army, which consists of no DPS dealing whatsoever, but you have a lot of bodies to kill. Alright, you have a lot of bodies to sustain the enemy attack, which you will survive, hold the objective, and win the game. You lose the battle, but win the game. So that's the way you play Termagant. And obviously, keep them with just flash bore. Alright, that's the cannon fodder aspect. Let's talk about the other aspect of it, which is shock troop. Let's talk about the Termagant bomb again. Alright, what's the most efficient way to do that? Now, if you have more than 20 models per unit, which you certainly will if you plan to play the Termagant bomb, which you will throw in 30 models of Devour-wielding Termagants and try to annihilate anything that's not Land Raider or Imperial Knights, right? Then yes, this thing will come up very often, okay? Now, since the Devourer loses its ability to reroll wound back in the Ancient Edition, which is, I think, 5th or 6th edition, they're allowed to reroll. I can't remember, but anyways, if you have more than 20 models, you can reroll the wound roll for 1, which is always going to help. Now, Devour, it's very expensive. A Gaunt model costs 4 points, and the Devourer costs another 4 points. So taking a Devourer wielding guns basically means you're taking two guns price for one. Alright, so it's really expensive, and this is also the reason why I wouldn't recommend Termagon Bomb anymore, because like, okay, sure, you pop up with Trigon Prime, you provide the Synapse, and then Termagon just annihilate something with a single-minded annihilation, which is probably best used on Hive cards, but for some reason you still want to use it on Termagon anyway. So even if you do that, alright, the enemy can easily wipe out because you're obviously really close to the enemy gun line, and all the bolt gun, the rapid fire, is going to melt you, no problemo. Okay, so yeah, just this is why I don't recommend to use the Termagon Bomb anymore, but you can still do that. Maybe in some certain case, such as Eurymagond, where they don't have to use Trigon or Trigon Prime to deep strike their troop. They can use the enemy below stratagem to use a Revenue, which is only 69 points. Yeah, that's right, 69. 69 points just to carry a squad of Termagons to shoot, which is fine. And they don't really need Synapse anyway, because like you're almost always going to pop up next to your closest target, right? So you don't have the -1 to hit on your ranged weapon, so yeah, don't worry about that. Alright, so that's Termagon, that's pretty much it. It's weak, it's good for cannon foddering, and maybe sometimes you want to use them as shock troops. Alright, so that's pretty much it. Let's move on to the Hormigons, alright? Hormigons is an interesting unit I love to talk about. Hormigons, alright? Hormigons and Genestealers work best together because while Genestealer is good at dishing out damage, Hormigon is actually good at bugging down your targets. Alright, so what do I mean by that? Hormigons are able to pow in and consolidate 6 inches. That's right, that means if you assault a unit, and then you take Overwatch, but you successfully charge in, when you pow in your Hormigons, you can actually spread them out away and to bug down the other unit that you did not declare charge, which you cannot attack, but that doesn't matter. You bug them down, so they have to fall back to shoot next turn if they want to. Or unless they have fly keyword, they can just back off and shoot again, which is most likely not going to be the case. We're talking about like maybe Devastators here, maybe have a heavy weapon squad, you know. Those kind of stuff does not have fly keyword. You bug them down, they will have to retreat in order to shoot again. Or they can try to kill you with their bolt gun stall or like punch you in the face. They can try to do that, which is gonna be really inefficient for them. So Hormigons, 6-inch pow in and consolidate, which means not only when you pow in during after you made the assault, made the charge, but also after the fight phase is finished, you get to move another 6 inches in any direction you want, as long as you end it closer to the nearest enemy model. Mind you, the nearest enemy model, not the unit, which means as long as you have one Hormigon model to touch base with the enemy, the unit that you declare charged at, the other term Hormigon models are free to move anywhere they want, as long as they move closer to the enemy model. It doesn't have to be the model that you declare charged at. It can be any model as long as it's literally closer to that Hormigon model. So yeah, that's why they're great. They can Hormigon is like the first line of assault, where they push up and then just bug down the enemy unit and spread like a disease, and then just continue to like pout and consolidate into enemy shooting unit, and then they will have to fall back or they are unable to shoot next turn, and then your Genestealers move as a second wave to finish them off, and then you have the third wave, which is Carnifex. So Hormigons are amazing, especially with Kraken. Alright, you get to advance 3d6 and you pick the highest result. So Hormigons and Genestealers in Kraken, perfect. You know, just put them in there. And also, like Termagons, if you have more than 20 models of Hormigons, you get to reroll the wound roll of 1, which doesn't do that much because Hormigon in essence is not there to do damage. Alright? Hormigon does not do damage. It deals mediocre damage. It's a strength of 3. Alright, sure, two attack per model. I mean, that's freaking amazing. You get to reroll the hit rolls of 1 because it has sizing talent. But with weapon skill 4 and strength 3, you can't possibly damage anything significant. Alright, you can probably kill guardsmen here and there, but that's pretty much it. Alright, Hormigon is not there to do damage. They're there to bug down the enemy unit. Okay, so now the question is, how many Hormigons do I want to take? All right, that's probably the question you want to add, you want answered, right? So how many Hormigons? The Hormigons, okay, the best number to take them is, I think it's 40. I think it's 40 models. All right, 40 models is probably better. Okay, let me explain why. If you have 2 squad of Hormigons, 2 squad of 20, which combined in total is 40, right? 2 squad of 20, you get to charge in different directions and let your Gene Stealers to pick whatever he wants to attack. Now, if you have 2 squad of 20, it goes forward, it can go right and left, so the enemy has to deal with them individually instead of just like putting like a 30 Hormigon together and trying to push as like a single force. Like, don't do that. Just spread them out into 2 squad of 20 and just push. Like, now you might ask me, what's the reason of taking 20? Right? What's the point? I mean, I don't take 20 because it has the Hungering Swarm, which allows them to reroll the wound roll of 1. That's not why I take 20 of them. It's because 20 Hormigons with Adrenal Glands is 1 to 20 points. And 2 of them is 240 points. Alright, 240 point, that's the same amount of point of having a Termagon Bomb. Well, not including the Trigon or the Carrier. Just, it's 240 point, you get a very healthy number of Hormigons that can charge forward. Any number lower than that, I mean, you can take 19, 18, I mean, that's fine too. 20 is not like a definite number, but it's just 240 point worth, which is pretty much like a Termagon Bomb worth of a point for a very healthy front line. I think that's cool by me, but I wouldn't recommend taking more than 20 though. 20 per model, 20 model per unit, I wouldn't recommend that. It's just, it's not there to deal damage, okay? 20, it's a healthy number. You can shoot it down and you can still have like 18 or 15 of them to charge forward. So there's that. That's why I take 20. If you don't have to take 20, you can take 18, 19, that's fine too. All right? But never take them in the like maybe 10 or 12. Don't do that. It's just really bad. You won't be able to do what you want to do. If you only have like maybe 10 models of Hormigons, you'll not be able to do the spread out and like bug down enemy unit trick. Alright, because the model count is simply too low. Even if you do survive untouched, let's say 12 models of Hormigons surprisingly did not get shot at whatsoever for the entirety of the charge phase, they move in, the model is too little in order to do this surrounding trick. If you surround your enemy, unless they have fly, they can fall back, but if they don't have fly keyword and you surround them completely, they cannot retreat. So you basically taken them as hostage. You know, like, your DPS is pretty shit, you can't kill the enemy, but you surrounded them. They cannot fall back, they are forced to fight you in melee. Imagine doing that against a squad of Devastator squad, alright? They can try to kill like 1 or 2 model per turn, but that doesn't matter because you're not killing them either. You're not killing them, they're not killing you. You basically hold them as hostage, and the enemy cannot shoot at your Hormigon because they're in melee combat. That's why you want 20 models in order to do the surrounding strategy. You want to completely have them surrounded, they cannot retreat whatsoever. That's why you take more than just 10 models of Hormigons. Alright, okay, finally, let's move on to the Ripper Swarms. Now, Ripper Swarms are... this is going to be a very short one. Okay, the reason why I take Ripper Swarms is not because of the combat capabilities. The reason why I take them is they can deep strike. Alright, a deep striking troop choice is very, very valuable. Remember what I said about warriors, of that warriors are not bad, they're just competing against like a very competitive troop choices. Yeah, this is one of them. Ripper Swarm can deep strike, man. Like, they can deep strike next to objective, they can capture objective that no one's guarding, or they can attempt to deep strike and then charge and then contest with the enemy. You know, they can do that. Having a troop choice that's allowed to deep strike is amazing. It's pretty good. And also, it's the cheapest troop choice. It can deep strike and it's cheap. It's very cheap. It's 33 point per unit. Alright, which is 11 point per model. 11 point per model, that's same score as the Imperial Guard heavy weapon squad with border. You know, like 33 point, you get to fill a battalion really fast. Okay, let's talk about making army lists here, alright, which is the original idea of the video. Like, why take Ripper Swarm? You don't take them because they're good at bugging down the enemy. You don't take them because they can shred enemy apart. You take them because they are cheap. They are cheap troop fillers that allows you to take multiple battalions, especially Kronos battalion. Ripper Storm and Cronus Battalion has been working well together. It's because, first of all, Ripper Storm is very cheap, and also it can deep strike, which means it can now activate the Chronos exclusive stratagem, which is called the Deepest Shadow. Use this stratagem when an enemy psycho attempts to manifest a psychic power within 24 inches of a Chronos unit. Your opponent can only roll a single dice that turn. That's right, since your Chronos unit are most likely going to sit in the backfield, which is Neurothrope, Hive Guards, Exocrine Terrain effects, they probably don't have a lot of chance to activate the Deepest Shadow, but not for Ripper Storm. Ripper Storm can deep strike near the enemy. Okay, it doesn't have to be in the face. It can be just like somewhere in the rooms. You know, this does not require line of sight whatsoever. As long as I'm within 24 inches of your Psyker, before you're able to shoot my Ripper Storm, which I will certainly hide them in like some rooms or whatever, or some line of sight blocker to make sure you cannot target me. But I do not need line of sight in order to activate the Deepest Shadow. I can activate Deepest Shadow. That's 24 inches within your Psyker. You can only roll 1 die in that in the Psychic ability. So there's nothing you can do about it. And chances are I will be sitting on a tasty objective as well. All of that just for 33 points per unit. Yay! So yeah, that's why you take Ripper Swarm. That's why you take Ripper Swarm. But how many do you take? Don't take more than 3 models per unit, obviously, because there's no point taking more than 3 models. You just take the basic 3 models per unit, and that's fine. All right. So yeah, put them in Chronos Battalion, and they're actually not that great in other battalion, in other detachment or Hive Fleet. Like maybe in Kraken. Kraken, your troop slot is almost always reserved for Hormigons and Gene Stealers. Not so much for Ripper Storm. Ripper Storm, just keep them in Chronos, they're fine. You know, or maybe... Yeah, I think, yeah, just Chronos, you know, there's nothing else. I was thinking about Yonomagond, but that is just brain fart. Ignore that. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the Ripper Storm, why you should take them. Just fill them out with as a battalion requirement, you know, which is 3 troop choices. Use them in conjunction with the Chronos stratagem, and then you can see some great result. So that's pretty much it for the troop choice this episode. And yeah, so let me know if I said something wrong, or there's something you want me to correct, or maybe you got more questions about how to use a certain unit. I would love to discuss with you, or maybe you have some new ways. Let's say maybe you have some killer moves with your Tyranid warrior and you are dying to show me, then yeah, go ahead. Like, I'm more than happy to know more about Tyranid because I love this race. They're so fucking amazing. So that's pretty much it. Yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.